Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants in our listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host for today, Crystal Jimerson.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar, Understanding Housing Change with Census Data Tools. I'm Crystal Jimerson, a training specialist here at the U.S. Census Bureau. I want to thank you for joining us today for the From Fundamentals to Functionality, Mastering Census Bureau Data webinar series. These webinars are a great opportunity for you to learn from our experts about how to access the Census Bureau data, tools, and resources. You can register for any of the webinars by visiting census.gov/academy. Before I introduce today's speakers, let's go over a few important housekeeping rules. As mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded. For your convenience, it will be uploaded to our Census Academy site with all supplemental materials relating to the webinar within 30 business days. We welcome written questions during the webinar. Please submit your written questions using the Q&A panel, which is at the bottom center or the right side of your WebEx screen. Please take a moment to locate that now. Once you've found the Q&A panel, make sure you choose all panelists from the drop-down menu. This ensures we see your question. Also, we ask that you do not include any personal or business identifiable information with your questions. We suggest keeping the chat panel open as we will provide key links and other resources throughout the webinar. Keep in mind you won't be able to respond to the chat. That is for us to send out links and other resources related to the presentation. My colleagues will be monitoring the Q&A panel, and as time allows, we will answer your question directly through the Q&A panel, or we will share your question with the presenters to respond to during the webinar. If we do not get to all the questions with the response during the webinar, we will post the questions and responses with the webinar materials on the census.gov/academy site. As you know, we are in a virtual environment and sometimes technical difficulties might occur. If you are having issues, try a different browser or consider logging out and coming back into the session. If you're having audio issues, try selecting the computer audio or calling into the webinar via phone. Now I would like to introduce our speakers for the day, Jolie Golden and Ileana Serrano. Thanks again for being here today. Ileana, you may begin.
Great. Thank you, Crystal. And good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar to everyone who's online. We'd like to thank you for joining us today to learn more about accessing U.S. Census Bureau data on housing. We hope you will discover how U.S. Census Bureau data and the data access tools can help you find free data for your community. Learn how to access the latest American Community Survey data at data.census.gov and access housing data from the 2020 and 2010 decennial censuses for various geographies. This session will feature live demonstrations, and we will share several links in the chat as we progress. Also, the PowerPoint will be posted on census.gov/Census Academy. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? We will review what decennial data provides as well as what ACS covers. We will also look at data.census.gov and how you can use it during the live demonstrations to access your data. We will preview the Housing Unit Change Viewer and show its functionality during the demonstration, and also preview the current census address count listing file viewer, I should say, highlighting features and uses during the live demonstration. And now I would like to introduce you to your presenters. Welcome, Jolie.
Thank you so much, Ileana. I'm just saying hi on video for a minute. I'm Jolie Golden, and I'm a data dissemination specialist covering New York City. I also was a partnership specialist when I helped count everyone once, only once, and in the right place in 2020. Back to you, Ileana.
Thank you, Jolie. And myself, it's Ileana Serrano, and like Jolie, I am a data dissemination specialist, and I cover the states of Illinois and Indiana. Like Jolie, I've been in different capacities. I've had the pleasure of working on 3 decennial censuses as well as surveys. So gives me a little bit of an insight in terms of the challenges the public has with using our data and finding our data. Okay, so to begin with, decennial data is the official comprehensive population and housing count collected by the U.S. Census Bureau every 10 years, and its data is used to apportion the number of seats each state gets in the U.S. House of Representatives. It is also used to redraw the boundaries of the congressional and state legislative districts in each state after each census. Decennial data is valuable to communities and businesses as the results provide a rich set of data on the communities served, including population trends and growth projections. Geographic coverage for legal, statistical, and administrative areas that include state, local, and tribal government units, as well as some specially defined administrative areas like congressional districts are also available. Just for clarification, statistical areas are defined directly by the Census Bureau and state, regional, and local authorities, and include census tracts and urban areas. And the primary purpose of statistical area is to tabulate and present census data. Example of this is your metropolitan statistical areas. For legal areas, they are defined specifically by law. An example of this kind of geography is your state, like the state of Nebraska. Administrative areas are government-defined and legally bounded areas used to manage public services, politics, and resource allocation. Example of this kind of geography are your voting districts, your congressional and legislative districts. Okay, next is the American Community Survey, and going forward, probably I'll refer it to just the ACS. The American Community Survey is an ongoing annual survey whose data is derived from a national sample of households. It is a source of detailed social, economic, housing, and demographics of the U.S. and Puerto Rico, providing characteristics of the population. The ACS covers more than 40 topics such as education, income, housing, and more. And it is tabulated for a variety of different geographic areas, ranging in size from broad geographic regions to cities, towns, county subdivisions, block groups. For those that like to create their own tables, the ACS Public Use Microdata Sample, or PUMS, those files enable data users to create custom estimates and tables on selected geographic areas identified in the ACS PUMS, including nation, regions, divisions, states, and public use microdata areas called PUMAs. And they're all available through the Microdata Access Tool, or aptly named MDAT. Okay, next we're going to cover some related concepts and definitions regarding housing. So what is a housing unit, and what is the difference between a single family detached or a single family attached, such as an apartment, a condo, or a duplex? And for your information, the title, the link, this is an active link that will take you to the definitions of housing units, because there are more examples in that link. So to get started, a housing unit, or an HU, is a private residence or house or apartment for a person or small group of people, such as a family or a group of roommates. Each housing unit must have a separate entrance that provides direct access to the outdoors or to a common space within a building, such as a hall, lobby, or stairwell. And this is without having to pass through the living quarters of any other inhabitant. Okay. So for instance, a single family detached is a freestanding structure with open space on all four sides. And a attached housing unit means that they share a common wall. Okay, that's to keep it simple. Now for group quarters, okay, which we'll cover in one of our examples. Group quarters are defined as places where people live or stay in a group living arrangement that is owned or managed by an organization providing housing and or services for its residents. Roughly 3% of the housing is classified as group quarters. And these units include college residence halls, skilled nursing facilities, group homes, military barracks, and prisons. And they are counted as group quarters units instead of individual housing units. Okay. So the tool that we're going to be using today is data.census.gov. It is the primary platform to use to access data and digital content from the U.S. Census Bureau. Census has many data access tools, and one of which is data.census.gov, which will prove very helpful, and you come to rely on this one to access most of your data. But the vision of this tool is basically for the data dissemination through data.census.gov to improve the customer experience by making data available from one centralized place so that the users spend less time searching for data content and more time using it. So what is in it? The tool itself has decennial data from 2000 on up. It also contains data from some of our surveys, such as the American Community Survey, CPS, which is the current population survey, and others. The program data, such as county business patterns, non-employer statistics, are also available. And of course, the different levels of geographies are available through this tool. And what can you do with the tool once you start using it? Well, you have access to tables that you can create and you can customize them, edit them online as you're looking at them, or when you download them to different formats. You can also look at maps or create visualizations to highlight a data point or just to look at the data on a map, okay, that is being represented. And you can also look at profiles that are already preloaded, and all the major variables are displayed for you. And also you can look at charts, whether it be a bar, a line, or sorted in different formats. You can create your own charts for the data in the geography that you are working in. Very versatile. So how do I get started in my search? Well, first of all, you're going to need a couple of things. Number one is your topic. What are you looking for? Are you looking for median income, educational attainment, number of rooms in a house? That sort of topic or variable. Then you're going to need a geography. You need to identify the area that you are looking at. And it could be countrywide, township, or school district, or many of the other geographies available. The time frame is optional. You can put in a year or not. And when you use that, it is basically acting as a filter to suppress all of the non-related data that is available on the tool. And also, you can further filter your results by selecting a source. And that I mean a survey or program. Again, it will filter out all those tables that are not related to your search criteria. And then if you're looking for economic data, you can use the NAICS system, or the North America Industry Classification System, the codes that are loaded there. And then again, depending on your criteria, further filter out those tables that are not related to your search. So today we will show you 3 examples, and there are 2 ways to start using this tool. You can use the single search engine if you like to start generally browsing, if you will, Or if you know exactly what you want, you can go to the advanced filters and then type in or select your criteria and start pulling back data. So one of the examples that we will be walking through today is creating a decennial block list or a housing unit block list. And we're going to create two, one from 2020 and another one from 2010. And we're going to be looking at the geography in South Carolina, Jasper County. And these are basically four your steps when you go into the tool. You're going to select your geography, your state, your county, and then of course the lowest level for decennial is the block level. And this is what the tables are going to look like. Sorry for the tiny print on it, but on the left-hand side, you're going to look at the 2020 decennial census data for the housing units. This particular one is the occupancy status, and then its complementary version for the 2010 decennial census. And here we have our second example. Okay. And the second example is creating a decennial block group quarters list. And we're going to do that similar to the way we created the housing unit list. Again, for 2020 and 2010, and we're going to stick with the same geography. Jasper County, South Carolina, similar to steps. The only difference is that just is kind of like a shortcut or a tip. Type in the casual search the group quarters in the search engine. And this is basically a preview of what the tables will look like. Again, 2010 and 2020, similar in look and feel, except the titles, the table IDs are different. And this is something you will have to look out for, okay? And one of the features of the tool is that you can use the mapping feature to visualize your results. Because sometimes, for instance, looking at a table like this and going through all those zeros and all the blocks and the tracks that are available can be kind of tedious. When you use the mapping feature, it could help you zero in on the areas where you are going to find results. And this is something that you can use to highlight a variable as well as to help you visualize the data that is being worked with. And our last example is looking at the American Community Survey comparative housing unit tables. And this allows you to look at, if you will, chunks of data over a period of time. For our example, we're going to be looking at 2020 to 2024 and 2015 to 2019. And we're going to be comparing the data for all places in North Carolina using the ACS 5-year and of course the comparison profiles. Okay. And let me transition. Give me a moment. All right. So this is the landing page of census.gov. And there are a couple of ways that you can access the tool. You can come to the Data and Maps tab on the left-hand side, access the tool from the link data.census.gov, or when you're in the main page or on the main page, you scroll down, and there are two tools right here that you can use right away. We're going to be using data.census.gov. Okay, so for the first example, excuse me, I'm not going to go through the casual search because I know what we're looking for. Our first example is to create a decennial housing unit block list, okay? And since we know our geography and what we want, we're going to explore the filters. First thing is identify your geography. And I'm going to do select the block. Next, it's going to ask you what state are these blocks in. So I'm going to go to the S. You can certainly type it in the search engine if you like. South Carolina is where we're going, and it's going to ask you, do you want to go anywhere other than, and it's asking you for all of those. No, we are wanting Jasper County. So again, pop it in, there's Jasper County, and you can cherry pick through any of these tracks to get at your specific block list. But since we're doing all of them, I'm going to check off the box at the top. And so now my geography is set. Okay. Now, one of the things is on the lower right-hand side, you have your search to initiate. We didn't give it a subject because once you select that geography, it is pulling back results related to that. That geography is for blocks, and the only type of data available at the block level is from Decennial. So you really don't need to select a topic or a survey because it's already filtered for you based on what you keyed in, what you selected. And right in the middle, you have your results. So you have all of these tables that you can look at, or they're 535. But if you just want to zero in on a specific one, a specific time frame, that's when you come over on the left-hand side and select the years that you are interested. But for our example, I'm going to look at the housing unit occupancy status, okay? And there are 4 products that you can look that are related: Decennial 2010, 2020, the demographic and housing, or the summary file for 2010. I'm going to leave it as is, and there are 3 versions that you can look at: table, map, or chart. I'm going to start by looking at the table. I'm going to maximize the view. Now, a lot of people freak out when they see this because they think, oh, what did I do? I did something wrong. You didn't. It is just that there are too many geographies in that request, too large to display, but down at the bottom, I'm going to open the table anyway. And so here you have your table. And again, this is all the blocks and all the tracks are listed going across your screen. That can be kind of challenging when you're scrolling through all of this. So what you can do is come over to the icon, transpose it. It's going to ask you to open it again. And now you have a very nice list that you can work from instead of scrolling through all of those screens, okay, to look at the data available. So at this point, you are looking at the housing occupancy status. And this table allows you to look at not only the total of the housing units in that particular block, okay, but it also delineates for you those that are occupied and those that are vacant, okay? Depending on what you're working on or what you are looking at or comparing, this may be helpful. I will show you, excuse me, another way that you can get just the totals that'll give you this column only, okay? And so from here, say you like this table and you want to work with it, click on the download icon. It'll allow you different formats that you can download. Come up to the Excel, click on download, and it's going to give you a spreadsheet, if you will, that the first thing you're going to see is the table notes. Okay, but if you come down to the lower left, click on the data tab, and there is your spreadsheet, if you will, with the edit that you made in terms of transposing. Otherwise, you would get it all the way across. Okay, so this is a nice list that you can add on to or manipulate the spreadsheet as you desire. Okay, so now that was 2020. What how do I get a 2010 list? You can, without going back and forth through the filters and the results, you can click the down arrow here, and we're looking at 2020 redistricting data. Here is your complementary 2010 redistricting data. And it's going to do the same thing that the first example presented in terms of the table being large. You're going to need to open it up, and then you can manipulate it the way that you did the first example. So you can open the table, and here you have for 2010 your total, and then you have your occupied breakout and your vacant breakout. So this gives you a nice side-by-side ability to compare when you download the 2010 and then come in and create the same product for the 2020. And you can, if you so like, visualize or create a map to look at different views of the data. And you can use the icon in the ribbon, or you can go to the Maps tab up at the top. And so now here we have the map. As you scroll in, you're going to be able to see the density depending on what you are searching for or zeroing in on. And this is the 2010 occupancy status. You can do this for 2020. If you wanted to look at, right now it's giving you the total. Okay, that is what it's displaying. But if you're interested in, okay, where were my vacants in 2010? Down arrow up here, click on your vacant option and it reconfigures, and now it is displaying vacancy. And if you come in closer, give it a moment to render, because it will pop in the track number, and closer it will pop in the block number. There you go. So here you have the block, and in red you'll have the track. And if you're just interested in this particular block, you can click on the image and view the profile for this particular, the housing profile for this particular block. It's saying that there were 63. Now we're looking at vacants, so make sure that you have the right variable that you want to highlight and select your profile for. Okay. You could also print this map if you so are inclined by going over to the More Tools icon and clicking on the print. Going to take a moment or so to render. All right. And so here's the file for the map. When you open it, it is a snap picture of that block, of that geography that you were looking at. But again, it is just of the vacant. So depending on the variable that you choose, that is what you are going to be printing. Oops, sorry. Pardon me a moment. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go back. This time I'm going to enter this way, and we're going to go back, and using the same geographies that we used before, we're going to look at just the housing unit totals. And again, select your block. It is in South Carolina. Okay, and it is Jasper. And we're going to look at all blocks. Okay, and let's click search. And so now it's showing the housing occupancy. This is one way to get it sooner instead of going through a lot of steps, is come down to the surveys, introduce this filter. And on this one, you are going to look at for 2010, we're going to look at the summary file. And this will, when you close it out, you have the list right here under housing units. Okay, it popped it in right away just by having your geography, filtering out everything other than decennial data, and then you're giving it that specific summary file. When you look at the table, taking a moment to render. Oh, it is taking a moment. It's working on it because you see these little movements here, but I don't understand why it's taking a little longer than normal for this. All right, well, that one's rendering. One thing that I do want to show you is in the previous example, we were able to transition from 2020 to 2010. This one is not going to allow you to do that because you are specifically requesting this particular product. And in your filters, you've got it in the criteria that the tool is keeping track on. So to look at, and there we go. Let's open it up again. All right, here you have now, and we're going to transpose it. Okay, so now you have your list, which is nice and tidy if this is what you are interested in. Just a list of housing units, not an occupancy status. So of this list, you can't tell what is occupied and what is vacant. And because this is specific to 2010, what we're going to do is come back to the filters, and you can take this out and it brings you to your selections. And for the 2020 portion, we're going to go to the demographic and housing characteristics. And right there, you can see the total, the same table. Okay, and under the housing units. And here you have page 1 for 2020. And it's just the totals. If this is a product that works better for you, those are the steps you take to render it. Otherwise, you can use the occupancy and status list. Okay, so now we're going to come back up to look at group quarters. Okay, I'm leaving the geography all blocks within Jasper County. So the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to select, okay, I'm going to start with a 2010. Okay, so we have the demographic. Actually, I'm going to start in with 2020, work my way back. The demographic and housing characteristics. And one shortcut is, let's see, come back down, 2020. It's filtering everything out. And then you are going to look at, I'm sorry, this is the group quarters. That's the same housing. Get back. Let's go this way. Let me clear this out. Okay, so I'm keeping the same geography, but the first thing that I'm going to do is just a little shortcut is come up here to the search engine. And I'm just going to type in group quarters and it will associate it. And now it's filtering everything else, as you can see right here, but it's giving me just group quarters data. Now you do want to come in and select your other filters, which is, of course, we've got decennial data. Okay, and we're going to go to 2010. And so now you're getting these results, which is not your group quarters, but if you come into, oh, dang. It's not opening up those results for me. Hang on one second. Okay. Took out the year, but I'm going to look at the summary file 1. And now I'm going to filter it to 2010. And it is telling me that there are 34 results. Okay, but right now, as you scroll down, you don't see them here. So what I'm going to do is select 25, open it up to more, and scroll down, and you are going to look at the title for group quarters. They're all house. And it's not on that page, so we go to the second one and keep going. And here we have group quarters, population by group quarters type. When you open that one, okay, it's going to give you the same thing because, again, we're working with large geographies. And so now you have your group quarters by type. And here you have the different kinds of group quarters. And you have that broken out by again, all of the blocks in South Carolina. Okay, and of course you can transpose if it makes it easier for you to read it out. In terms of the labels are now up at the top as opposed to on the left-hand side. Okay, so now if you want to, we are in 2010. Again, it's not going to let you go to 2020. Come back out, go to your filters. First thing you do is take out the 2010. All right, and take out the summary file. And then you're going to go to the demographic. You're going to, the demographic and housing characteristics, and filter it to 2020. And on the right-hand side, you've got group quarters. Okay. In 2 different versions. Okay, if we leave that one out, here you have group quarters by sex, by age, so on and so forth. Okay, and you can do the same thing with the mapping feature if you so like, to highlight any kind of variable or specific. If you drill down, look at anything in the block level, if you're looking at that granular type of data. So now I'm going to clear out all of my searches, and this last example is the ACS comparative housing characteristics. So how is it that you're going to get to that particular one? And this time it's going to be for all places in North Carolina. All right, so we select our place and our state where they reside. Okay, and then here's your selection, all places within North Carolina. We open that up. It's taking a moment to render. Okay, so now you are looking at some results here, some of which would be useful, but we're looking at comparisons. Okay, so in order to get that particular table, you're going to have to identify where that product comes from. And since we're working with ACS and we're working on those 5-year data sets, open that up, and here are your comparison profiles. Okay, so let's close that out. And you're going to get a couple of different selections depending on the characteristic that you want to look at. And since we're dealing with housing, we are going to go to CP04. And this is going to allow you the view, if you will, of those 2 particular blocks of time that you would want to look at and compare. And it's breaking it out by all places in North Carolina. So you have 2020 to 2024 being compared to 2015, 2019. Those are the 2 5-year data sets. What's good about this table is that it will indicate for you if the numbers that you're looking at are statistically significant. If you're going to be comparing data sets on your own, you are going to then have to use our statistical testing tool to make sure that what you're looking at is statistically significant. Okay, because otherwise you might run into some kind of interpretive problem if you do not do that testing, but the comparative tables will do that for you. Okay, so what do we want to do with this? Well, this one also will let you, when you bring it down, if right now we're doing this one and we're doing this one, but if you wanted to go further, you can go back and compare a couple of other chunks of time, if you will, by going to the next 5-year. Okay, and there you have, if you will, a time series comparison going back to 2010. Right? With these, what you can do also is you can select the map feature and visualize your data. Okay, and with this in particular, it's occupied housing units. And again, as you zoom in, you will see the geography being identified. And the closer you get in, you will get all those places that we're looking at right now. And what you could do is come up to the, let's see, so here you have your ability to do charts, and you've got your different chart types that you can look at and chart out different variables. You can rank it, okay, from either high or low, and you can also do a column chart and then rank it high or low. Right, so there's a lot that you can do with the tool and the data access, and that's all I have for you on this part. So now I turn it over to Jolie.
Thank you so much, Ileana. Now let's roll from the data collected from the American Community Survey on data.census and shown on data.census.gov and move to leveraging resources created by our geography team. This includes two visual tools that are shown here. They're newer tools. One on the left is the Housing Unit Change Viewer, and the one on the right is the Current Census Address Count Listing Files Viewer. And we'll be dropping these links into the chat. So these tools are updated twice annually. Those updates are targeted for late July and January. And they're based upon, rather than being based upon survey data, these are based upon the census address count file. So that's a list of addresses that will be used to reach out to the country during the decennial census. And it's also leveraged in other census survey operations. Where do we get those addresses from? Well, partly and mostly the U.S. Postal Service provides us twice a year with its delivery sequence file. And that's a gigantic file of addresses. By incorporating the updated Postal Service addresses into the address count file, we allow for linkage between old and new addresses so that we don't have duplicates in our database. Since 2020, this vital information from the Postal Service has added more than 11 million addresses to our census address count file. In addition, information from our American Community Survey outreach and other administrative data also inform the census address count file. If you look on the left at the Housing Unit Change Viewer, we start with 2020 decennial data for those housing counts, but then we incorporate the census address count file. And so what we're looking at is not a change in housing units, but a change in addresses. And so I just wanted to make that crystal clear. And before we go into live demo, I also wanted to mention for those who are preparing for next year's invite to LUCA, excuse me, for the local update of census addresses and are looking for tabular data for the address count files, you can download these files on census.gov. If you are unfamiliar with LUCA, this operation allows for local governments to submit addresses to be added to the census address count listing file to make sure that we count everyone in each community. And while the housing counts are made public, the individual addresses are kept private under U.S. Title 13. If you're looking to learn more about geography and LUCA, we happen to have a wonderful new conference, the first ever Geo Forum. It's open to the public, and that's happening on May 19th and 20th. And you can sign up at the link that we posted in the chat. Before we dive into both of these tools, I wanted to share different ways to find the tools. The first thing you can do, which many people choose to do, is just to go into a Google browser or another browser of your choice and put in the name of the tool, and often it will come up right at the top. I know it does that in Google Chrome. You also can go to census.gov. So here's census.gov, and you can go into Data and Maps, Data Tools and Apps, and scroll down for a complete list of our tools. So right here, you can see the current census address count listing files viewer. The third way would be to type in census.gov/geography. If you're interested in learning more about geography, census geography, get to the geography program on interactive maps. This will lead you to a variety of interactive map tools, including the two that we're looking at today. Now let's look at a scenario where we can look at the live tool. Laura and her niece is moving to Brooklyn and will be looking for housing. So to easily see where new housing has been created in Kings County, New York, also Brooklyn, known as Brooklyn, Laura can use the Housing Unit Change Viewer. There she'll find data on new housing units in a county and can also drill down to census block and block group levels. So now let's go to the Housing Unit Change Viewer. So when you land on the tool, this is the default view. You can see at the top, there's percent change, numeric change, and percent and numeric change. When you switch to numeric change, you'll see these different bubbles. And the legend is on the left, and percent numeric change has both the bubbles and the shading. So when we're on percent change, which is the view that I'm going to use, it seems to want to be zooming in on its own for me. On the left, you'll see the darker green shows 10% or more increase. And then it gradually goes down. And when we zoom in, you'll see purple areas where there will be shown a decrease in housing units. Those decreases often come from reclassifications. So we're going to zoom into Kings County, New York. Over here on the right, I can search for an address or a place. Oh, that's why, because I had Kings County. Address or a place. Or I could search by GeoID codes handy. To put in your favorite county, and you could do this on your own now as I'm typing. Just make sure you state in. You can see how it zooms right in for me. And here, New York. As we zoom in, on the left, the legend will dynamically change. It's showing census. I'm going to look in this area of Coney Island, and I'm going to zoom in a little more so I get to the block level. And there happens to have been a very large increase in housing in this area, just in this one block group, in this one block 2000 alone. You can see that 443 units increased from 2020 to 2025. Basically went from 12 to 455 units. And you can also see the GeoIDs here. Now, if I wanted to see, what's happening in that block, I could look also on the left and click in the lower left-hand corner. And this gives me a different visual where I can see the image view of the map. So as I scroll in even more here, I can see even down to the fact that there's parking in the center of this building complex. Now, going back to the presentation, I did a little bit of searching in Google and on a Google map because I had the block, and I was actually able to see that the block is really occupied by this affordable housing complex that was newly built on Surf Avenue in Brooklyn. So this is just a little bit of more detail on what that block actually looks like. And who knows, maybe Yara's niece could apply for affordable housing and get an option to live in this nice new building. Now let's move to looking at a reclassification of housing. So to go back into the Housing Unit Change Viewer tool, and let's say I wanted to go and start fresh, I could click on this little house home logo in the upper left. And this time, we're going to look in the northern part of Manhattan, near Columbia University. So I'm going to look at New York County, New York. And here you have, let's look at the other. I can see this big purple block. I happen to know it's Central Park. I'm gonna look at Claremont Avenue between 120. Little block.
Jolie,
Yeah.
your audio is cutting in and out. Do you want to switch to your phone?
Can you hear me now any better?
I can hear you, but it just kind of it goes in and out. So if you would like to switch, maybe it will be a little bit better.
We only have a few minutes left.
Okay, all right.
So scrolling in, when I click on this specific block, you can see a decrease of 31 units in terms of the number of housing units, but an increase from 1 to 3 group quarters units. So between 2020 and 2023, this was reclassified. Now let's go back and we're going to look back to the presentation and we're going to look at the census address count listing files viewer. Oh, but while I was mentioning, sorry, in terms of group quarters, we have reclassified many group quarters, many addresses into group quarters. And if you wanted to get more specific definitions of what those group quarters consist of, you can look at our newly released 2030 Census Living Quarters definitions. We put that link to that document in the chat. For more information about the Housing Unit Change Viewer, we have a 7-minute data gem. And this is geographer John Policino. You can see more detail about searching deeper into the tool. And now let's go to the current census address count listing files viewer. So this is a picture of what the tool looks like on the landing page. If you want to search, you can use the search dropdown on the left or search by GeoID. You can also put in the intersection or longitude and latitude coordinates. So while this tool does not show address change, it does feature a little bit more functionality in terms of, you can see that there's a legend, a layer list, which allows you to remove or add different geographic layers, including AIAN, ANRC, and minor civil division layers. You can also add data, which allows a user to add geographic data from other public sources. Some ArcGIS online services will require the user to log into an ArcGIS online account to gain access. So you can see where you can do that on the right-hand side of that slide to add data. Now let's move, and here's that layer list where you can check and uncheck layers. Now let's move down to Miami, where you can see, where we'll look at an example where there's an apartment complex in Miami Beach. So I happen to have the address count listing files viewer queued up, and I'm going to put in the address. Usually you don't need to put in the zip code. It will usually please know that these addresses are all from the Esri Arc geocoding service. These are not, because those are protected by Title 13. This is where the housing unit is, and see the area land and area water. Before we finish, there's a data gem for this video too, featuring John Policino. And I just wanted to mention that if you're interested in more data gems, more access to courses where you can learn at your own pace with video tutorials, or signing up for additional webinars like this one, you can go to census.gov/academy to find those resources. You can also reach out to us for presentations based on this topic or many others. You can reach us at census.askdata@census.gov or 1-844-ASK-DATA. And I'm also providing, with our last slide, I'm providing our email addresses and phone numbers if you wish to reach out to either me or Ileana directly. Thank you very much for all of your questions. At this point, Crystal, I believe we probably need to close out.
Yes, that sounds good to me. Thank you, Jolie.
Thank you.
My pleasure. But yes, thank you, Jolie and Ileana, for distinguishing our housing unit types and providing this valuable ways to bring our census housing data to life. Very well prepared presentation. Thank you. Before we conclude, I'd like to thank everyone who played a role in today's webinar. We thank you, our audience, for spending your time with us this afternoon. We are interested in hearing from you on how we are doing. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation that will appear when you exit the webinar. This brings us to a close. Thank you again, and we hope you have a great afternoon.